Hey, what's up, YouTube? BAOTCG here, and originally this profile was probably still gonna get recorded this week, but we were gonna post it next week, actually after the match videos, because that's usually how I do it. I do the match videos first, and then do the profiles afterwards if I am doing a profile. But y'all really wanted the sauce, man. Y'all, the truth must be revealed. Like my homeboy Squidward says, the truth must be revealed. So yeah, this is my pure Alden list that I did go 3-0 with at locals per the tournament report. It's just locals, you know, and I'm not claiming that this is better than Alden Caterpile, but personally, I'm sick and tired of Caterpile, and if you don't have the money for Caterpile, you might have the money for this, baby, because this is just pure Alden. Like, I wouldn't even say all gas, no brakes, because, man, like, Alden is such a good deck, man. It's so good at defense and offense at the same time, man. But let's get into it. All right, so the new Alden ride line, there's really nothing much to it. It's really synergistic with what the deck is trying to do. So yeah, there's really not much to say here in terms of the ride line, at least. We're going to go into the main core engine of the deck, not counting Persona rides. You're playing 20 Alden cards, not counting Persona rides. So it is possible to make a cohesive Alden deck. I've done it, and I got the proof in the pudding. I got the proof on record. So yeah, 3 copies of Persona Ride. This deck really does want to Persona Ride. It does way better if you do Persona Ride. It can still be trouble even if you don't. You could still make annoying numbers, but this deck really does excel at pushing your opponent beyond what they want to be pushed to when you are able to Persona Ride. You turn your 26k columns into 36k columns. You turn your 28k Vanguard column into a 38k Vanguard column, which is a little bit bigger than what your opponent wants it to be. Alright, 4 copies of the energy chick that lets you that buffs your guy when you call on top of it, and then lets you restand if your opponent's grade 3 or greater. I'm sorry, I don't know. I think the only name I actually know here is Ermac. I'm really bad with names, but I'm really good with effects. You want to play four of this card. The deck is basically just built around her getting off both of her abilities, especially the ride line, because you're able to search grade 2s or graders, and you're also able to energy charge if you whiff your search. So the whole deck is just built around her, and this is the way that they created the new Alden archetype. Bushiroad was very smart and clever in a way that they made the deck cohesive and with certain restrictions, to whereas you can't go super crazy with it, like, unless it gets some busted support that's beyond what this does. But the way that they made the new Alden support cards, you won't be able to get more than 5 attacks no matter what. Unless you hit you hit an over trigger, like the red over trigger, which we are playing in this deck. Spoilers, oh lord, spoilers. But this deck doesn't care, man. You can play any over trigger in this deck. The only over trigger I wouldn't play in this deck would probably be the Keter OT, but besides that, you can play any over trigger in this deck, man. So yeah, 4 of her, little more winded than I thought it would be. There's I don't have a name for her, fake Lysardia. There you go, fake Lysardia. All right. And then 4 copies of the MVP Ermac. I did forget his name, but I remembered his name. So yeah, your big B-stick type boy. He's what really bridges the entire deck together, because he'll just get buffed no matter how he was called. But as long it was called, it just needs to be by a card's ability. So 4 copies of this. This is mainly what you're going to be calling off your Alden skill, because this guy, when you call it on top of her, it's just 45k by itself, baby. No P-ride needed. So yeah, this is your main core of the deck. And then for our other supplemental Alden cards, you don't have this. Well, guess what, baby? We got the next best thing. We got the 25k Alden Interceptor in the house. Man, the fact that it doesn't even have to be called for its effect, you just have to have an Alden Vanguard for it to gain its intercept ability. It's really strong in that aspect, but it's also very balanced. Like I said, the Bushy was so tricky in the way that they balanced this deck. It's super strong, but super balanced at the same time, that it's really easy to turn him off, either by removing him via not retiring or stopping you from intercepting to begin with, which a few decks can pull off in this format. But if you're against especially if you're going first, if you're against a deck that just doesn't have a solid answer to this guy besides attacking into him, you're just kind of dominating. Because more often than not, what I was doing in my matches was I was setting up a double of this guy going first, or like instead of an Ermac, I'd set up like one of these just to secure that my opponent isn't gonna get a lucky turn and blow through me on their first grade 3 ride, like especially like against a Varga, for example, which I did fight against. Like, man, Varga is still strong, but I feel like it's a little bit power crept this format. But Varga is still a very strong contender, and the fact that this deck has access to so much shield just made that matchup way easier than it normally would be. All right. 4 copies of your Booster Dragon. This is your Soul Charger of the deck. Funny enough, while I was playing the deck, I realized I didn't really need as much Soul as I thought, because the only thing that really uses Soul in this deck is you Soul Blast 1 off the ride line, 1 for Divine Skill, and then 1 for her, and then you're not really Soul Blasting that much for the deck. So I found more often than not that the Soul wasn't needed, but which it's not even optional, by the way. You have to Soul Charge for this. This whole time I thought it was optional. And I thought it was optional, and then like I thought I was just making like the money moves and be like, I'm gonna Soul Charge anyway, because that's what my deck wants to do. But yeah, 4 copies of this guy. It's always gonna be a 13k booster if you have an Alden Vanguard. Sadly, it's not a 13k attacker. It's only a 13k booster. That's like the only neg of this card. But yeah, just 4 copies of this guy for consistency's sake. And there's really, like, if you are playing a pure Alden list, realistically, there's not really that many great Alden cards that you can play, as sad it is to say out loud. But that is the reason why we're maxing out on like the really cool Alden cards, is because there's really nothing much else that you can play besides these guys. For our next, this is a pseudo archetype card. Technically, it's not an Alden card. We're playing 4 copies of Gragayon. He's our countercharger. Notably, you only get the countercharger after he boosted, and if you've called a unit by your Vanguard's effect this turn. He'll get the 13k no matter what, so he could be a 13k attacker if needed. But you only get the countercharge if you've called a unit this turn by your Vanguard's ability, which I was having trouble with at the beginning of the tournament, and you're gonna see that in one of my match videos. Like, I literally came to locals right after work, guys, and like I literally had to wake up after game 1. Like, that was the reason why I lost game 1, because I thought I could do something and then I couldn't. But yeah, he's just really nice to have access to it at 4 copies. The way that this deck works is either use all of your counterblast or basically damn near none of your counterblast. But yeah, guys, this is like the core. This is the core of the Alden deck, guys. And arguably, you can play this at 2. You can play this at 2, and you could run as many other tech cards as you want. But this is just what I've been. This is just what I've been currently running, because I was like, hey, like, how can I make a pure Alden deck work? Because I don't want to play Caterpile. All right, can I put this there? Yeah, that's fine there. Alright, moving on to our non-engine of the deck, we have a 7-card non-engine slot, which one of these cards is actually a really excellent bridge, especially with your Ermac, is we're playing 4 copies of this grade 1 card that we got in DZ-3. You guys might not know what this does, because not a lot of Keter decks are playing this right now. But what it does is, I usually don't explain cards. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not a fan of profiles that I read you every card in the deck instead of explaining why you play it. We're explaining why you play it, and for the one time, we're gonna read it. It has the ability of on plays during the main phase. CB1, call a card from your hand to rear guard, and then if you call the card, you get to draw a card. And then it has a continuous ability if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater and you have 4 more units, it gets plus 5k. So this is also another 13k attacker or 13k booster, which is crucial in this deck. You might notice that we are running quite a few grade 3s and grade 2s. You're maxing out as many of those as you can, because generally that's what you're searching for. And I actually cut a card because I was running a little bit too many grade 1s for my liking. So this is the non-engine part of the deck. That's an excellent bridge with the main engine of the deck, because it synergizes well with Ermac. It's something that you can do in the early, and it's something that's also synergizes very well off your Vanguard when you like just call her either off Divine Skill Yeah, when you call her off Divine Skill or when you call her off Ride Line, it's just free pluses. Like there's nothing else in this deck that uses Counterblast except this chick and your Vanguard Alden. Oh, and this guy. I lied, guys. I lied. It's caught on tape. I'm a liar. 2 copies of Cadbray. Now the reason that we're playing Cadbray instead of, because this was during the tournament, this was 2 copies of Topaz. The reason I'm not playing Topaz anymore was Topaz kind of felt like an anti-synergy because Topaz either it ate up too much of my soul because I have to get rid of 2 Ride Line cards instead of 1 from Cadbray, or it was just like shield and it really wasn't doing anything else. And then there was awkward moments where I just kind of had it on field, and I didn't have a good way of getting it off field. So the reason that we're subbing this in for Cadbray, and instead of Cadwalla, I know there's some Alden. I literally watched an Alden deck profile when I got home, which was funny. Shout outs to Kirby Knight if you guys know who that YouTuber is. But the reason I'm running Cadbray over Cadwalla, which in his list he was playing Cadwalla, is Cadwalla requires you to have 4 more units. Cadbray doesn't. Cadbray is like very minimalistic, that like he works by himself. He works if you add this off the Ride Line to then call him. He works if you call this off the Ride Line. Basically, Cadbray's gonna work no matter what. He even works during the battle phase. He's a very I wouldn't say 1-card combo type of card, but he's a very do-it-yourself type of card, to whereas no matter what, Cadbray's going to do what you want with him, and he can add grade 3s to hand, which is he can add your Persona Ride, he can add your main grade 3 chick, and he can add order cards to your hand, which he can add the Blitz PG to your hand, and he can add this which we're playing this instead of the cup. Originally I was playing the cup because the Chalice, that is what I'm referring to, instead of Radiance Caliburn, is because more like I was like, oh, this deck wants a Persona Ride, let me put in the cup for extra Persona Rides. And then I realized while I was playing this deck how easy it is to just kind of like tutor whatever you want to tutor, pseudo off of the Divine Skill and pseudo off of Alden's skill, because when you call something over Alden with Alden's skill, you just get the card back that you called over, which is really awesome. I didn't realize the full extent of that until the local tournament, to whereas I was just getting perfect guards, getting Persona Rides, just by calling over them, or like calling them and then calling over them again off of the Divine Skill, which was really nice. But this has dual purpose of, it's just either a Pot of Greed, or it gives you an extra counter charge and a soul charge. Just basically, it like helps you dig and extend. Really nothing much to write home about here. You can play any other, this can be anything. You can play any other Regalis piece if you want. This is just my personal Regalis piece of choice. I think right now she's sitting at like $12 or like $7 a copy. So this and this might be like the most non-budget thing about this deck. And maybe the Blitz PG, but besides that, I think this Alden deck is fairly budget if you're trying to be competitive in this format. Like you're trying to go to like BCSs, and you're trying to like top like I guess non-bushy legal, but like properly prized tournaments. I would say that you can get the most bang for your buck out of this pure Alden list, in my personal opinion. But going on to the main staples of the deck. Every deck has to play them. 3 DPGs, 1 Blitz Order PG. It can be searched off of Cadbray. 4 heal triggers. 4 non-effect heals. I'm not a fan of the effect heals myself, so this is what I run. 4 vanilla crits. This is my favorite art. That's the only reason why I pulled them out, because it's my favorite art crit. 4 into soul crits. 3 effect fronts. You don't want to play draws in this deck. Believe it, like as soon as you hit grade 3, it's like your first grade 3 turn when you hit divines. That's when like you'll, especially if you get this grade 1, at least one of her in rotation, because you're able to spam her multiple times off of Alden's skill. That's the turn that you'll start churning a lot through your deck, because that's your first grade 3 turn is the turn that you're more often than not drawing the most cards. So you don't want to play additional draw triggers on top of that. And then our overtrigger of choice is the red overtrigger. Like I said, this OT can be any OT you want. This is just personal preference. It worked really well with Ermac in terms of if you call an Ermac off of this, you have basically a 25k restander if you're not giving him the 100 million. Or no, you call an Ermac off this and you have a 25k beat stick by itself, not a restander. Because if you choose, the other option is you choose Ermac and you have a 45k restander or 55 with Persona Ride if you're not choosing the Ermac that you're choosing to restand with the restand ability off of the red OT, if that makes any sense. I kind of butchered that. This is a little bit longer profile than normal. There was a little bit more to explain because this is a very outside of the norm list. I just applied my basic deck building theory that I usually do, especially with this season of Vanguard and Divines, is that more often than not, if you want your deck to be consistent, you have to put more in archetype and engine cards that synergize with what the deck's trying to do. And then usually your non-engine cards that aren't really archetype cards, you use to fill in the gaps of your deck's weakness, or you use to pattern what your deck is already trying to do. But anyways, guys, this is a very long-winded profile. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I spilled the sauce. The truth has been revealed. Y'all have a great night. Later.